So let's talk about rejection. Rejection. Who in the world likes to be rejected? It is probably a fear of many of us because rejection can come in so many shapes and sizes and intensities. And, the spirit behind it is meant to break you. Rejection is meant to break you and to break all your confidence, so you have no confidence whatsoever to do the things that God has called you to do, or to see yourself how God sees you. And the effects of rejection can be so long lasting. If it starts in your childhood, you only need a few good, sharp experiences with rejection for it to affect you for the rest of your life. And I know in certain Christian circles, there's lots of books that have been written on dealing with rejection and overcoming rejection, and God healing rejection. And if that's a struggle for any of you, I pray in Jesus' name that you would be healed from it, and that you would really overcome it. And the power of God is strong to heal it. And some people, for different things, they can receive a rather instantaneous healing or breakthrough or deliverance, from certain things. For others of us, it can be a process over some years. And then, for the rest of us, it can be that God throws us in a pressure cooker where we are like forced to get over it, to overcome it, to be healed from it. And that's why I entitled this podcast, Diving Into Rejection. And it's like, no, why the heck would I want to do that? I want to backpedal all the way up from rejection, right? Because that had been like a major struggle and a major fear in my life for years and years. And when I think about it now, that it's just not, I never thought I could be free of it. I never imagined myself being free from it, at least not for very long. But when I think about it now, I can see how the effects of it are just riddled in every aspect of my life. And when you get triggered, you know how it is. If you struggle with rejection, if that rejection button gets triggered, you start acting out in certain ways, or self-sabotaging or sabotaging, situations and opportunities or relationships before they really, really, really even get going. And, God has not called us to live that way. He wants us to be free. Whom the Son sets free is free indeed. He doesn't want us to be warring with something, like this. And so for some of us, we will literally have to dive into rejection. And what does that mean? It means that sometimes God will put you in situations that are intense, where rejection is coming at you full force for a while. And that was me when I moved to China. I took a job working for Disney on the educational / publishing side. And my first year in Shanghai, I was mostly a trainer. When I relocated, I was still a trainer, working with kids and training and teaching them. And then my second year, it was that and some other roles that I played. But anyway, in that first year, Disney, first of all, has a very high standards for their employees, or they call them cast members. And so everything that we did So it was me and 8 or 9 other trainers. And when I first started, I was the newest one and the least experienced one. Everything that we had to do had to be with such utmost excellence, and everything had to be, anything that we taught, anything that we executed had to be, in Disney fashion. And so you couldn't be shy. You couldn't be worried about what people were thinking about you. You had to be animated and smart. You had to really be on top of your material. You had to be skilled in your delivery, and you had to produce the results. There were results, learning results for the kids that had to be met section by section before classes were over. And classes at the most were 2 hours long, with breaks. And we were coached and monitored, and especially when you were new, multiple times a week. Your manager would come in, or even the higher ups from Disney would come in, and they would observe you, and they would take notes, and you get feedback. And I mean, I was a mess for multiple reasons. I was just a mess, and I didn't have the confidence to show up or show out like my colleagues who were just tearing it up. Let me tell you, I was the worst one. And not only that, the kids would just be like, oh my gosh, because they've had other teachers there. I was replacing someone, and I bored those kids to death. And they would say things in Chinese, and my my co-teacher, who was Chinese, would, tell me what they had said. I mean, it was horrible. And the parents started to complain, and they had already complained before I started teaching, because they didn't want a black teacher. Now, I had like 7 or 8 classes, and in each class there were sets of parents and grandparents who were angry that they were getting a black teacher. Because in China, if you're black, you automatically just got shipped over from Africa. They don't even realize that black people can come from America. So their thoughts were, she's teaching our kids, they're going to have some crazy African accent. And so they were just like livid about all of their kids going in different classes. And they weren't just complaining to my managers, but they were calling Disney helplines and all this stuff. Trying to get me out of there, trying to get all their kids. Okay, so rejection, and I can't do anything, right on the job as far as like admin stuff. It was a challenge to get everything organized when you have about 100 kids that you're working with, and all the administration that goes with that. It was very challenging, but that I could do. I'm fairly good at administration, but when I came in to this position and everything that is required of you in the showmanship way, in the skilled acting way, and I love entertainment, and I always wanted to be in entertainment, but my confidence in that realm was totally in the trash, in the dumps. And so when you have someone every week, multiple times a week, watching all of your classes, and you have to sit there and listen to, and all the feedback was given very constructively. I mean, better than any feedback I've ever gotten in my life. And other arenas, feedback is really, let me tear you down. Let me lay into you. But it wasn't like that there, and I wasn't used to that. And so I was able to learn how to really just let my guard down and just take, because it was given constructively. It was given so that, I could improve and get better, and let me show you how to do this and that. And so, I mean, it took like 6 to 7 months of that weekly constructive criticism, and facing that rejection repeatedly. And finally, by my 7th or 8th month, I mean, I felt like I was cured cured from that spirit of rejection and fear of man and what people were thinking or saying or mad. I mean, when you have some serious racist people and they're not trying to hide it, and it's not, they don't do it passively, aggressively, they are like in everybody's face, up in arms. We do not want a black teacher, and my kids are complaining because she's terrible at this and that. And, some of them would come in to watch and they would complain and complain and complain. That, for me, of course, was taking a dive into the tunnel of rejection. But you know what? In that realm, there's not too many things that I'm afraid of or feel like afraid of rejection. Even in my current business operation as a business developer, at work, people say no to me all the time, and they're not always nice about it. They're not. But it's like water off a duck's back now, where you used to would get all offended and just like broken down, and I was like, oh well. So, if you struggle with rejection, ask God for what your process should be. Ask the Lord to help you overcome it, because it can really take you out in life. You won't do certain things that God has called you to do, or you'll sabotage stuff, or you'll just always be in a funk because you'll perceive everything as rejection. So don't fear the dive. If God is pushing you, and not just with rejection, with other things, heart things that you struggle with, emotional things that you struggle with, if you feel like you're about to be pushed off the edge of the cliff in that way, just don't even wait to be pushed. Just jump. Jump, because God is doing such a new thing, and He needs us to be new. He needs us to be refreshed in our hearts, and He needs us to be able to hold and steward the opportunities that He gives us, because they're influential for the kingdom, and He wants to know that He can trust us to step out when He says step out, and to not sabotage things, because things are usually attached to people, and He doesn't want our inner situations to be messing up other people, right? So take the dive, just jump. Don't wait to be pushed. Just go for it, and watch how God helps you to overcome. And so, in the end, with my story, I became one of the top performers in my center. And because of that, my renewal rates went sky high, and it would stay that way for several months at a time. And I got open doors to participate in other things and develop other things. So it's it is for the benefit of the kingdom and life, but for ourselves, because God, He wants us to excel in what we do, and He doesn't want us to be hindered by the marks of rejection. So go for it. Dive into it.